Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 14.6 Beta 3 has been out for a few days. I've been using it primarily on my iPhone 12 Pro Max and also my iPad Pro 12.9 from 2020. I also have it on the iPhone 11, iPhone 7, and I also have iOS 14.5.1 on the iPhone 6s Plus. We'll talk a little bit about 14.5.1 in a bit. Now, as far as new features in iOS 14.6 Beta 3, well, there's a few that I didn't mention in the initial video, and the first thing has to do with the TV app. If you go into the TV app for the first time, we'll wait for it here, and there's a new splash screen. It says Apple Originals, watch exclusive shows and movies, new originals every month. Also, it says Apple TV channels, pay for just the channels you want, share with up to 6 family members. So this is something that's a little bit new. They had a splash screen in podcasts as well this week, and another app also. And so along with that, there will be changes with Apple TV and more features and things like that coming in the future, I think with maybe the release of the new Apple TV as well. Now, on the iPad, there's a new feature that someone noticed. Now, this could have been there all along, but if you run your battery all the way down and you get the battery symbol, it actually now orients properly with the iPad, depending on which way it's turned. So maybe it's empty and you turn it on. When it's in landscape mode, it'll have the battery symbol in landscape mode. Some people notice this. It seems to be new. We're not exactly sure how recent it's been there, but it's something that's a little bit new. Now, also, iCloud Documents and iCloud Drive. If you're using either of those, I actually use those services from Apple. If you're using those, whether that be with photos or files or anything else, Apple is actually going to merge iCloud Documents data and iCloud Drive. So they're going to merge those together. There's actually an Apple support document that shows that. And within the support document, it says they'll be doing this in May of 2022. So you don't have to do a whole lot, but it's just letting us know that they're merging those into one database, basically. So hopefully that goes well. There is no more additional information other than the support document I'll link in the description. Now, also, if we go into the Watch app, we'll go into Watch here. In Watch, if we go to maybe one of the Watch faces that we have here, so maybe we'll find, I think on Infograph is where it was. If we go into Infograph, you can see there's a new color, electric orange. Braden helped me find this. We're not sure exactly how long it's been there. I've not seen anyone else mention it, but I think they even added it with iOS 14.5.1, but no one seemed to mention it. So there's electric orange. Whether or not that was a case color they just never released for the spring is hard to say, but it was not there in prior versions. So it's there in certain different watch faces, but it's a new color. So if you want electric orange, you now have that option. Also, Apple Maps Look Around keeps getting updated. I talked about this the other day in the news update where they're updating certain areas around Hong Kong. They're working on that. But if we go into Maps, and in Atlanta, Georgia, they've actually updated this. So if we zoom in, we should be able to maybe go to this street here. Let's go a little bit closer, see if it works. And there we go. We have Look Around in Atlanta, Georgia. So you can go around the city, look around, kind of get an idea of what the streets are like. They've expanded this to Georgia. Now, I also had a user send this in that said they're working on Croatia as well. They spotted an Apple car going around Croatia. And if we take a look at photos, Ennio Petkovic, hopefully I'm saying that properly, sent this along, and Apple is mapping Croatia now for Look Around. So this is one of their cars. If you zoom in, it says Apple Maps Imagery Collection, and it's one of their mapping vehicles driving around Croatia, mapping it so you can use the Look Around a little bit later. So you can see there's a couple different photos showing that. So Apple is finally mapping more of the world along with Hong Kong. Now they're mapping Croatia, and I'm sure there's much more to come. So thanks to Ennio for sending that along. Now, the next thing is there was a developer feature that was in the AirTags that was actually removed with Beta 3. And so what that was is if we go into Find My, now if you're within Find My and then you select an AirTag to locate and you have a U1 equipped iPhone, tap on Find Nearby, and the word of whatever you're looking for, I just named it Office goofily here, you tap on it, and it would pop up a little developer menu. This has since been removed with Beta 3, unfortunately. It was kind of neat to see, but they've removed it with Beta 3. It was there with Beta 2. So that's something that's a little bit different that they've changed. Now, as far as overall performance and battery life, The first thing is iOS 14.5.1 had a really big issue where it's actually quite slow for some phones, including older phones like this iPhone 6S. Originally it was okay, but now it seems really slow. The good news is iOS 14.6 Beta 3 actually fixes it. You can see how much it's stuttering. It's kind of just slow overall. And with 14.5.1, something changed there, but with 14.6 Beta 3, it's much faster. So the performance seems to be much better with the beta. You'll see on an iPhone 7, it's a little bit stuttery, but it's much better than it was before. So if I go to music, for example, we'll go to browse, wait for it to load here, and you'll see it's much smoother than the iPhone 6S Plus was, for example. And while it is a little bit faster phone, it's a jet black iPhone 7, it's a little bit faster. In general, it should not be that slow on the 6S Plus. So I don't think they're throttling it, but I do think there was a problem. This beta actually seems to fix it. So hopefully they'll fix it with 14.6 when it's released to the public. Now, performance overall when using it on an iPhone 12 Pro Max or an iPhone 11 seems to be quite good. There was only one complaint I saw from someone that said it was actually a little bit slow. So on the YouTube community poll we'll talk about in a little bit, most people say that performance is much better with 14.6 Beta 3 even than with Beta 2 or with 14.5.1. So it seems to be performing really well on older and newer devices also. When it comes to battery life, the overall battery life seems to be pretty good. If we go into settings here, we'll go to battery and then go to battery health, you'll see I'm at 100%. A few people complain that it went down after updating. Generally, it's rechecking. And if you have an iPhone 11, for example, and it's recalibrating the battery, some people are actually seeing improvements after that recalibration. Now, with all of these different updates, of course, it could take a couple weeks for that to happen, but some people have seen it actually go up by quite a bit after recalibrating. So give it some time. If we don't have more updates, of course, that will interfere with that and then start over. But if you're on 14.5.1 and updating, of course, it will take some time and then it will complete. Now, as far as the battery life, let's take a look. You'll see I've been running 14.6 Beta 3, and depending on the day, it varies greatly. So on a couple days ago, it had 2 hours and 8 minutes of screen on time, 20 minutes of screen off time, and I used only a quarter of the battery. That would put me at about 8 hours and 20 minutes or so, give or take, if we were to use that 100% of the battery. So if you times this by 4, that's how I'm getting that. And if we go to the day before, you'll see 2 hours and 56 minutes, and I use 50%. So it just depends on what I'm doing. I use the camera a lot that day, which uses a lot more power. If I'm just using things like Twitter or messages and mail, it's doing a little bit better. And then yesterday I had 2 hours and 32 minutes of screen on time, 0 minutes of screen off time, and used 50%. And like I've said in the past, I think these battery measurements are a little bit off. And the reason I say that is I go to bed with about 50% of my battery life left. I'm at 74%. This was taken off of the charger at about 9 a.m. this morning, and I'm down 25%. By the time I go to bed, it'll probably be about 50. So it's kind of strange to see it sort of vary that much. Now on the iPad, it's not really improved that much for me. As I've said, with the iPad, the overall battery life, I completely wiped this when I installed 14.6 Beta 3. I restored from a backup. The last try is to actually not restore from a backup. But you'll see over the last 9 days, it was last charged to 100%. On Thursday at 9:47 a.m. and it's been used 2 hours and 28 minutes, and I'm at 43% battery life. I'm only getting about 5 or 6 hours of screen on time on my iPad for some reason. When it was new, it would easily hit 10%, and the battery health is still quite good. It's well over 90% on this iPad, over 96% the last time I checked, and so it still continues to be a problem, although performance on the iPad has never been an issue and everything is great. However, there are still some bugs with iOS 14.6. Now, I am happy to report a couple things, is Bluetooth seems to be working much better for me on iOS 14.6 Beta 3. It connects to my car much faster than it did before. When you want to play audio, for example, or unlock the car using it as my key, AirPods seem to connect quite fast, and let me actually show you that. So first, before I try and connect the AirPods Pro, let me turn off these devices because they'll actually interfere, or put them into sleep rather. They'll actually interfere a little bit. So let's turn this on here like this, and you'll see it sees it right away, and we're good to go. So if I take these out, put one in my ear, for example, it connects nice and fast. no issues there. I just heard it in my ear, and you'll see the headphones show up. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay with the volume button, and I do have my Mac on, so it's trying to see that. So it is much faster. I have much less issues as far as maybe when it's trying to connect and then giving me static or anything like that. So it seems to be much better overall. Let me turn these back on. So Bluetooth has been much better, and most people are saying that as well. So people that were having Bluetooth issues before say it's much better with this beta. So that's good to see that they're actually working on it. Now, as far as green tint is concerned, I have had a few people message me and say that it's fixed with beta 3. It returned with beta 2 and then came back with beta 2 and then went away with beta 3. So if I turn the lights off, maybe we go all the way dark, go to settings. Some people were seeing green tint around the outside edge. I've never seen this on my iPhones. People have seen it even at different brightness levels as well. I've never seen it personally, but quite a few have, but many people are saying it's fixed now with this one. Now, as far as issues that I'm still experiencing, occasionally I'm having touch issues on the iPad and the iPhone within YouTube, sometimes within different apps or just opening apps. So maybe I wanted to open Geekbench, for example. Sometimes it's a little bit slow. Other times it's not. So it really depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes that sort of issue comes and goes. Another issue I'm having is with AirDrop being slow to connect and then send. Sometimes when I'm sending to my Mac, it's slow. I did notice when I was sending to a phone with 14.6 beta 3, it was actually nice and fast. So there's definitely differences. There's something different there, maybe to do with the Bluetooth fix that seems to be taking place in beta 3. So there could be something going on as far as that goes. Now, also, some people have still had Wi-Fi issues with Wi-Fi calling dropping from time to time, so that still is a problem for some people. So it seems like it's mostly stable. If you're still having issues, make sure you report those in feedback, but for the most part, it's really good and nice and stable. Now, that leads me to, should you update to iOS 14.6 beta 3 if you're having those issues with 14.5.1? Well, if you're a little bit tech savvy, maybe you know how to reset your phone and you don't have any issues, well, absolutely go ahead and update. It will probably fix your performance issues on the older phones. If you're concerned about additional bugs or you don't have the ability to reset your iPhone should there be a problem with a computer using iTunes or Finder on a Mac, then maybe I would hold off for the public release. But otherwise, at this point with public beta 3 or developer beta 3, if you're a public beta tester, you definitely could try it out. It seems to be a little bit better, and many people report better battery life, better performance, and everything overall, especially on older devices. I don't normally recommend people update to betas unless they have an extra phone, but if you're having really slow responsiveness, your phone's unusable, then you definitely could try that out, and I think you'd be pretty happy with it. Now, as far as the release of iOS 14.6, well, I thought maybe we could see the release candidate as soon as yesterday. However, maybe we'll see it this coming week. Now, some people are having conflicting information about this because 14.6 explicitly supports iPad Pro, the new mini LED iPad Pro. However, 14.5 also seems to support it. But if we're talking about Mac with the new iMac, that's actually supported with 11.4. macOS 11.4 explicitly and supposedly is the main operating system you need to support the new iMac. Now, that's what's actually in some of the information, so it seems likely that we would have a release candidate soon this coming week with a final release by the end of the week when people start receiving those new iMacs. So hopefully we'll have an update by then. Of course, this could change, and Apple's schedule has been all over the place. It's possible we could have many betas of this well past iOS 15 even in June. So you never know exactly what Apple's going to do, but this update seems stable enough that it's possible it could come out this coming week. But we just don't know since Apple has been so all over the place with this. Now, a couple news items before we take a look at the YouTube community poll. And the first thing is Apple has discontinued the space gray accessories. So the iMac accessories, whether that be the Magic Mouse or the Magic Keyboard from the iMac Pro, the space gray version is now discontinued, and whatever remaining stock or supply is there, you can still pick it up, but they have discontinued this color. If you like the space gray keyboard, it's your last chance to get your hands on one, it looks like, unless you buy it used later on. So that's something they've actually discontinued. Also, there's been rumors of that new Apple lossless service coming soon, with maybe new AirPods launching as soon as this coming week. Now, the HiFi service is something I would definitely welcome, higher quality audio, maybe with AirPods Pro or maybe even AirPods Max, for example. I would highly welcome that for higher quality audio, maybe a new codec. And in the Android beta version of Apple Music, it seems like they've actually found some code hinting at that, kind of confirming it 100%. Basically, there's warnings all over it saying lossless audio files preserve every detail of the original file. Lossless audio files will use significantly more space on your device. 10 gigabytes of space could store approximately 3,000 songs at high quality. So there's a bunch of hints to that Mac Rumors actually found, or it was given to them and they did a story on. So it looks like it's going to be coming very soon. What the actual release date of that, though, is hard to say. So it's something to look forward to, though. Now, along with Apple Music HiFi or Apple Music Lossless, whatever they call it, we could see AirPods 3 early this week as well, based off a rumor. Now, the source does not have a huge track record, so we'll have to wait and see if that comes true, but maybe we'll see some new AirPods and some changes there. So I can't wait to see Apple Music HiFi if it's coming soon, maybe along with 14.6 or something else. Now, before we take a look at the YouTube community poll, here are the statistics on the different issues you were having or mentions of battery life, lag, heat, and crashing. So issues with that are mentioned here, or just the amount of people mentioning it. And then also the devices you're using. So again, iPhone 11 remains very popular along with the 12 Pro Max, with others to follow. iPhone 10 seems to be fairly popular as well every single time in these polls. Now, on the YouTube community poll at the time of this video, there are 16,000 votes, which is always appreciated. Lots of good data here, 134 comments. So all of those bugs and things, that's what I mentioned earlier to try and give you an accurate depiction of what the iOS 14.6 Beta 3 is like overall. 17% of you say that it's great. 4% of you say it's terrible. 5% say it's okay and has some bugs. 65% of you have not updated yet, so you're on 14.5.1 or older, and 9% of you are using Android. That's actually lower than the previous times I've run this poll with that question, so maybe some people are switching or just not as many as are voting. Let's go ahead and take a look at the comments. So let's go ahead and sort the comments. We'll sort them newest first. I wish you could do oldest first, but let's go ahead and take a look at them. Chris Joseph says, working great on my iPad Pro 2021. BT says 0 issues with 14.6 Beta 3 on my 12 Pro Max. And Solangil, if I'm saying that properly, I'm on 14.5.1 on the 12 Pro Max, and while the performance on this thing is bad, apps crashing all over the place, but what frustrates me is that how the Bluetooth functionality has taken a serious hit. It struggles to change audio between my car and AirPods Pro, whereas the previous versions, this transition is flawless. Hopefully 14.6 can fix this. So again, some people, especially with older phones, seem to have more issues, but Bluetooth continues to be an issue. Jeevan Rout says iPhone 6s Plus, battery drain and heating issue. And one thing I wanted to mention is most people that have battery drain on 14.5.1 seem to have the phone getting excessively warm. That tells me it's doing something in the background, whether it be an app using it or something else. So that's definitely an issue. Maybe there's some background processes going on there. Avi Elbaz says iPhone 12 Pro Max, iOS 14.6 Beta 3, Bluetooth is much better now. Stephanie Elvez says 14.5.1 is great on my iPhone 12 and no issues so far. And again, it's back and forth depending who you ask. Based on the previous version of this video, the follow-up on 14.5.1, 51% of you said that battery life was actually better. So that's quite low compared to previous versions. Almost 50% are having problems with it. SHZ says it's worse on my iPhone 7 Plus, by far the worst beta I've ever installed. Lagging are everywhere, bugs and glitches. I already submitted feedback on this matter. And like I said, betas are not perfect. They have bugs, and some people will have different experiences with them. Sharan Kumar says 14.6 Beta 3 performance-wise is fine, but the call dropping issue is back, mostly whenever Wi-Fi calling is available. Sushma Keshav says iOS 14.5.1, I use an iPhone 11 Pro. My phone is heating too much even when I have problems with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity. Shrikar Vandavali says, I'm getting good battery life on iOS 14.5.1 on my iPhone 7, so I won't update from here unless battery life gets better. EA Mon Gamer says iOS 14.6.3 or 14.6 Beta 3, iPhone 12 works great. iOS 14.6 Beta 2 has the power button issue where it would take an extra second to respond to click, and now it turns off instantly. Jeremy DeBose says 12 Pro Max and iPad Pro, great so far, 11 hours of screen on time, no lag or overheating, crashes or resprings, just the same occasional touch response issue. terrible keyboard accuracy and correction, and the noise cancellation in one AirPod is still resetting itself. Mostly great overall, though. There's actually a recall for AirPods Pro if you're having that issue, so you may want to look that up. I think I did a separate video on it as well. I'm using iPhone XR and it drains my battery so fast, unlike the Beta 2. Maybe do a hard reset or a hard restart and usually those problems will go away. Mario Goucher says iPhone 12 Pro here, no bugs for me on iOS 14.6 Beta 3. They could release it tomorrow and I believe most users would be happy. I'm on 14.6 Beta 3 with my 6S Plus. It's great, but I encountered some bugs, so I submitted some feedback. Fat Planet says, Bluetooth drops. AirPods Pro didn't want to go into noise cancellation mode yesterday. They're working today. Battery life seems to have improved. iPhone 12. Daniel Quarterman says, on iOS 14.6 Beta 3 on my 2016 and 2020 SE, both have been running great. Jason Wonder says, Bluetooth has been worse for me, for sure. iPhone 11 Pro Max. M. Gerald Vinot says, running great on my iPhone 11. No real issues to report. Daniel Desif says, I have a lot of glitches. My phone gets warm very often. Touch responsiveness is bad and the battery has been so terrible. I've also noticed that when I plug my charger on my phone, it takes a few seconds to show the notifications that it is charging. I'm on an iPhone 12 Pro Max 14.6 Beta 3. Koro says, I'm still having Wi-Fi issues on Beta 3 of 14.6 on my 11 Pro Max. Noah Messer says, it's been really good on my iPhone 12 Pro Max, really snappy and smooth. Battery life has been improved much from Beta 1 and Beta 2. Can't wait for 14.6 RC and final. Nate W. Paranormal Investigator says, battery life is great on my iPhone 12 Pro Max. No stutter, lag, or freezing since the installation. Overall, a very smooth and stable beta. Keep up the great work. Thank you. And Masood said, I'll just paraphrase that basically battery life, he's on 14.5.1. Battery life has been great and overall no bugs with his iPhone 11 other than battery health that's dropped to 84%. So overall, I think a lot of people really like 14.6 Beta 3. It's not perfect. There's definitely a few issues here and there, but it's pretty good in general. So iOS 14.6 Beta 3 seems to be pretty good for most people. There's a few issues here and there. And again, be sure to report feedback if you're having those issues. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.